So we are, hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar session for Stormshield Management Center 3.1. So let's get started. In that case, I will present you the today's agenda for this presentation. I'm here with my colleague, the product manager of this solution, Charles Jesmar.
Hi everyone.
And myself, Manuel Jordan, the product marketing manager of this solution. So we will talk about the administration management tools, also how.
I'm sorry, Manuel, but I don't see the slides going further. We are still on the Please be patient. The webinar will start in a few moments.
Okay, do you see? Just let me. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry for that. So in today's agenda, we will talk, as I was saying, about these administration management tools, also the enhanced visibility for SMC admins. And we will finish with the two major points for this solution, which are the active update and also the IPsec DR support.
This new version of SMC. So SMC 3.1 is it the management of SMC administrators access, and also it offers a turnkey solution to provide active updates to firewall that don't have direct access to the internet. Also, this version improves the user experience by providing more visibility and organization capabilities for the administrators. Now we will go into more details for each features that are released with this SMC version 3.1. So for the first feature that we introduce, there is a first topic which is related to administrators management tools. Three features are released within this major topic. First one, the multiple command line, which offers capability for several administrators to access to command line interface either from SSH or from the hypervisor console. The second one is related to the administrator right management. And the third one is related to the authentication server redundancy. If we go into more details, so the first one is related to the multiple command line login. So far, only one user was able to connect to the command line. It was root. If several administrators had to go into the command line, each administrators had to use the same user. Now with this version, each user that have to enter into the command line interface can use its own credentials, which is much easier with the operational point of view, and also it is more secured because it enhances the traceability of the usage of the command line. The second one, the second feature, is related to the administrator's right management. So before, only SMC and SNS web GUI read-write privileges was possible on SMC. With this new version, there is a better management of the security because we can see that SSH access and also the console access are given through privileges which are defined by the main administrator. Also, it is good to notice that with this version, not only Radius and Active Directory are available as external directory. Now SMC is also compliant with OpenLDAP. And finally, the third feature of this first authentication topic is related to the redundancy, because with SMC 3.1 it is possible when using a external authentication directory to define a backup directory in order to guarantee that the authentication based on external server always works, even when the primary server doesn't work. Now I have introduced this first topic. I will go into demonstration which should be available. Let me find it. Now you should be able to see it.
Let's imagine that I have a team with several administrators who have different roles within the organization. Some of them only manage firewall support, so they use SMC only to access to the SNS web interface. They don't need write privileges on SMC, but they need to be able to modify the firewall configuration. Others manage the configuration at a global level. They need to be able to do modifications on SMC. And finally, other administrators have to perform maintenance operations and advanced diagnostic, so they have to be able to access to SMC command line from the hypervisor or through SSH. Good practices recommend that all administrators have to have their own personal login and passwords, and I want to rely on my external directory. I have configured the connection between SMC and my external directory. So far, only Active Directory and Radius were possible. With SMC 3.1, it is now possible to connect SMC to an OpenNetApp directory. By the way, to guarantee that the administrator authentication on external directory always works, we can see that I have configured a backup directory which will be used if the primary one is not available. On SMC web interface, we see that I can either add a group or a user from external LDAP or Radius directory. With SMC 3.1, administrator management with external directory is less time-consuming and much more clearer than before, and I am more confident with the availability of the service. Moreover, I have defined the privileges for each administrator. In previous versions, I was already able to define read and write privileges on SMC. With SMC 3.1, I am able also to define privileges for SMC command line through the console or through SSH. I don't have to share root passwords with anyone anymore, which was both complicated to manage and also dangerous security-wise when an admin leaves the team, for example. Anyone with appropriate privileges can now access with his own credentials. Let's imagine that there is an incident on SMC. I have to investigate in order to understand what has happened. Thanks to SMC audit logs, I am now able to retrieve each connection to the command line with the timeline and by whom. I am also able to see the connection attempts that have failed. I am now more comfortable and I am able to guarantee the traceability in case of an incident.
Okay, hi again. So now we've seen this demonstration for the new authentication feature management. Let's go with the next one, which is related to the enhancements of visibility for administrators. So a feature that is more user experience oriented. Here again, three small features are released into this version. The first one is called custom properties. The second one is related to the local policies of the firewall, and the last one is related to the service and maintenance expiration warning. Let me go into the details of each one of them and also provide some demonstration. So the first one is called custom properties. So far, only one specific field, which is called description, was available to provide some details, some information about the firewalls. And when there were many firewalls and many information to provide, it was not enough. With SMC 3.1, you are now able to create as many custom properties as you need to give to create the properties with the name you need. For example, contact name, or customer number, or customer name, and to give a specific value for this custom property for each firewall, which is much more efficient when dealing with many firewalls. Let me now go into this specific demonstration.
I am an administrator in a MSSP which manages several customers and several projects. We use SMC to ease the firewall access, to push the filtering policies, or to execute some scripts. When I had to look for a specific firewall for a customer or a specific information about this firewall, it was quite hard because of the high number of firewalls we manage, even with the folder hierarchy, because there is only one description field I can use to provide many specific information. Thanks to SMC 3.1, I am able to define custom properties in order to better identify each firewall. For this example, I have created the fields customer name and customer number. With this firewall supervision view, I can easily find the firewall thanks to the filters. If a custom field refers to an important property, I can add it in the supervision panel. For example, here I have added the customer name in the supervision panel. We've decided to add a customer contact number. Very easy, I just have to create a new custom property. It is now available for each firewall and I can fill it in. For more efficiency, if I have many firewalls with many custom properties, I can use a CSV file to import the values. These properties are also included in the SMC supervision panel export. By the way, we can see that with SMC 3.1, when doing a SMC supervision panel export with filters, only the firewalls which match with the filters are exported. The list is therefore more relevant with what I am working on. Thanks to this feature, all the administrators of my team are more efficient.
Okay. So I hope this demonstration was okay. If you have some question, do not hesitate to raise your question with GoToWebinar tool dedicated to the questions. I will go to all the questions at the end of this presentation. So the next small feature related to the enhancement of the visibility is related to the local firewall policies. So to better understand this feature, we have to understand that so far, if we wanted to have a global understanding of the policy that apply to a firewall, we had to switch between SMC global policy visibility and to the firewall local policy visibility in order to understand what would apply to the flow. With SMC 3.1, it is now possible to get a comprehensive view of all the policies that apply to a firewall, thanks to a new option that allow to display the local policy directly on SMC. So thanks to this feature, it is much more comfortable to see the whole policy that apply to the flow. Here again, let me provide you a small demonstration.
Let's imagine that I am an administrator for a group of schools. I am in charge of the network flow for the teachers, but I prefer local administrators to deal with the student flows. Therefore, on SMC, I am defined global policy rules with delegation to the local firewall policy rules. I can see that the traffic with the students as source and going to internet are delegated to the firewall local rules. If I want to do a comprehensive diagnostic of the policies, I need to see both policies, the global one defined on SMC and the local one defined on the firewall. And so far, I had to connect to each firewall to see the local policy, which is time-consuming and doesn't give a comprehensive vision. With SMC 3.1, it is now possible to display the local policy directly below the global one. From one single panel, I am able to see all the rules that the firewall applies to the traffic.
And then the next feature is related to the service and maintenance expiration warning. So SMC was already able to raise some alerts when the maintenance and the license options of SNS was expired. However, it was quite complicated to anticipate the expiration because the alert was raised only when the data has come that with the expiration. With SMC 3.1, we improve this alert system thanks to an expiration warning, and with two levels. The first one is a warning and is raised 90 days before expiration. The second one is a critical alert, which is raised 30 days before expiration. So thanks to this new expiration warning, it is much more efficient to anticipate the renewal of the maintenance or of the options of SNS. I will now go with the next feature, which is called active updates. So to better understand what this feature is related to, we have to understand that before SMC 3.1, in order to get benefits of active updates package, either the SNS firewall had to be connected to internet, or as an administrator, you had to deploy an independent active update server and to maintain it in order to provide the packages to the SNS. With SMC 3.1, it is now possible to deploy the active update server directly into SMC in order to push the packages to the SNS that are not connected to internet. So it is now a turnkey solution with all the solution SMC and active update server provided by Stormshield. We can see here on this screenshot that there are two ways to activate active update server on SMC. Either SMC is connected to internet and can get the active update packages automatically from the Stormshield server, or if SMC is not connected to internet, it is also possible to upload manually the packages on SMC, so that all the SNS that are connected to SMC can get their package directly from SMC. The next feature is called IPsec Dr. So IPsec Dr means restricted diffusion, which is a French specific way to define IPsec. So this specific IPsec Dr is a more secured way to define IPsec. So it has been introduced on SNS 4.2, and SMC is now able to manage this IPsec DR mode. So from SMC, it is possible to deploy a VPN IPsec DR configuration and to provide a consistency check to the administrator. So basically, when you activate the DR check as an administrator, you get all the information raised by SMC in order to help you to harden the configuration and to have all the whole configuration compliance with the IPsec DR guidance. And finally, as the last feature, SMC will soon be available on AWS public cloud. So if you or your customers want to deploy all your infrastructure on AWS, SMC will soon be available on the AWS Marketplace. So if we want to sum up the customer benefits of this new SMC 3.1 version, the first one is the efficiency of administrator, which is increased. So thanks to the new administrator feature, there are more flexibility and the traceability is improved and more secured. There is also an enhanced visibility. So by having the global view of the firewall fleet, the admins are able to better analyze them. And finally, it is more secured as the SNS firewall it is easier to maintain their service and the maintenance up to date. And also the IPsec DR VPN security is smoother and easier to set up and less time consuming. I will now go into the question that may be raised. So I can see there is the first question, which external directory versions are supported? So yes, a good question. So for external directories, so for Active Update, for Active Directory, and Radius, it is now it supports Windows Server 2019, and for OpenLDAP, it supports OpenLDAP 2.5. There is a second question. Is it possible to change the values for expiration date? Yes, it is possible. So by default, the expiration warnings are set with 80 days, 90 days before expiration and 30 days before expiration. But you can change the value if you need to. The third question is it possible to force an update on active updates? Yes, it is totally possible. If you don't really know when your active updates on SMC will get its updates from the Stormshield server, it is possible there is a specific button you can click on in order to update the SMC active updates. And finally, yes, there is one last question. So could you send us the original PowerPoint for translation? I guess this is for a distributor. So maybe, yes, we will see how we can provide you with the presentation. And we can see that you provided your email address, so we will come back to you. So there is no more question for the moment. I guess we can end with this meeting. So thank you very much for attending this webinar, and talk to you soon.